Hello, everybody, and welcome to World Edition on the Pod TV Network. I'm Nick Palavito. I'll be your moderator today because Kim is on assignment in Bali and Mark is speaking engagement, maybe speaking with Donald Trump or somebody of that nature. Well, that means that I'll actually be able to get a word in edgewise for a change. With that, of course, we do have another person who's just joined us from Canada. We're going to bring in the head of the Russia, China, Ukraine show and Ukraine, Russia, China show, excuse me, and also give us an update on the World Chess Championship challengers, Mr. Sasha Starr. Sasha,
hello.
Yes, I don't know if you saw the finals of the chess match yesterday. Of course, Major Network isn't going to carry it because they don't give a rat's rear about chess. Man, because they're stupid, but that's my opinion. But 600 million or 800 million people actually do care about it. And it was a pretty exciting finish, I thought. So maybe I'm assured you followed it. Tell us what happened in the finals.
You're right. It was exciting finish, and if it wouldn't be a dramatic play, you couldn't come up with a better scenario where four leaders were playing against each other in the last round. That was incredible. Only what complicated situation was that the previous round, Gukesh was able to defeat Firouzja, and therefore he was half point ahead of three other contenders. And that decided that was crucial situation for the outcome. While Gukesh very comfortably drew his game with Hikaru Nakamura, and Hikaru, during the game, he never had even a shade of a chance to defeat Gukesh. So Gukesh, at least he guaranteed himself the playoff with either Caruana or Nepomniachtchi if one would be victorious. Now, what's happened in that game? Caruana outplayed Nepomniachtchi like it was a situation where he was
winning.
There are like two players of different leagues. One is in the top league and another one somewhere in the middle of the pack. It was such a drastic difference between these strengths. However, then Caruana, he didn't have a tight knot, but he had some deficit in time left. Nothing crucial, but still. And I think he got a little bit nervous as well. And then I think he was infuriated with Jan's stubborn defense because truly the draw for Jan meant very little. He would not get in the playoffs. No way. So therefore, as a matter of fact, I saw the video at the very moment when the draw was already agreed. Jan Nepomniachtchi said, "I'm sorry." And at the end of analysis, he said, "I'm very sorry." And he should be sorry. He really should be, because without any, what he's got, probably extra $3,000 for making a draw instead of losing.
Right.
And for that, he deprived Caruana of his rightful chance to play against Gukesh, which would be.
But you have to admit, Caruana really screwed up that position.
He did.
Sasha. I was looking at that and I said, okay, you play Queen D5 Bishop. When I was following Stockfish, I go, well, Caruana's up for like 4. And I'm going, it's just a complete win for him. And then I come back and all of a sudden he's got one pawn up all on the same side on Queen ending, which is a complete draw. I'm going like, how did he mess that up? I mean, Caruana had to really screw that one up. So when I watched it, I was going, okay, look, dude, if you can't win that position, you don't deserve to be in a playoff. I mean, seriously.
That's
seriously.
Actually, Caruana admitted in a dialogue with.
He screwed it up.
He said,
and that happens.
Nobody.
So tough.
It's happening. Yeah. But you know what? During the game, when I was observing that Jan was able to mount his pawn on A4, guaranteeing B3 for his knight, I already started to feel that even if it's win, it's not very easy one, and I was not sure that Caruana would be able. Caruana, he has just one shortcoming, but it's a gruesome. He is quite often screwing up in decisive games. He is
Yeah.
a little bit lame. He doesn't have a killer's instinct.
He doesn't have the killer instinct for endgames like Carlson does. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I looked at that and I'm going like, okay, that's a win. It looks clear. He gets he captures the diagonal with his queen and bishop, and he just destroys him. But all of a sudden, it became a draw. Hierarchy, though, who should have had a chance, you're right, had no chance. He was down upon most of the game that I saw, and I was going, he was lucky to get a draw. So here, Hierarchy had a chance. So you had two Americans who had a chance, and they both blew it. I mean, it was
in the last round.
and you know what? They're not going to get. They're not getting younger, and their chances are good. Hierarchy's chances are starting to fade forever.
I'll tell you that I think that neither of these three, Nepa, Caruana, and Nakamura, will ever make again two candidates.
That might be true. You got too many good young players. I'm not sure about this new guy, Garish or whatever his name. Yeah, is he good?
Genius. He's a genius. I'm watching
17 years old. He's young.
It's never in history of chess that 17 years old would play much for the world championship. Okay, you can argue that it's not real world championship because Carlsen is not there. But I was listening to Carlsen on chess.com during the games. And you know what's interesting he said? He said that the candidates tournament is still premier event. He values that very highly, but the world championship is not right. It has to be under a different formula and so on, because he was asked whether he would ever participate in the FIDE World Championship. That's what he said. Then he was admitting that everybody missed Gukesh and nobody really understood his real strengths. And Carlsen values him very highly. He's
going to get better. He's 17 years old. He'll actually get better over the next 10 years.
He may defeat this Dean Lejeune and become world
champion. You're right. He may. But notice it's India versus China. And you look at it
all the way. Women too.
When you look at it, the population they have in India, they have like 1.6 billion. China maybe 1.5 billion. Half the world lives in those two countries, so it's not surprising to see the two of the top chess players in the world actually come from China and India, and not from the United States and Europe. Which, if you add ours all together, we have half the population of China and half the population of India. So
you don't have half. You don't even have a quarter. Probably would be more realistic.
Well, the thing is, people don't realize that chess is big now in India. It's big in China. It's big in Europe. It's big among the intellectuals. The United States is not an intellectual country, so it's really poor here. People don't follow it. They don't give a rat's rear. They're going to watch The Voice. I forgot what was on TV yesterday. The Voice or
American Idol.
Is that what it is? Whatever stupid program comes on. And here you have the World Chess Championship challengers, and I'm looking, I'm not going to find it on ESPN. 600 million people follow it, but it's not followed in the United States. It's kind of amazing what an intellectual vacuum we have here. And frankly, they poo-poo it. They go, it's like, it's checkers at the Tiddlywinks. It's something like that. They never played hardcore tournament chess. They have no clue. They have no clue how hard it is.
I have ways to fix that.
Why?
In NBA games, if the home team holds the visiting team under a certain number of points, you get 2 free tacos at Taco Bell.
Oh, right, yeah.
You need to do that with chess. You also need to pay a player like $200,000 for a year to change their name to Cheesy Gordita.
Yeah, well, it's funny though. Chess is actually big in the United States in the elementary school level, and then when they hit middle school, they quit, and then high school it's even worse, and then college it's scholarship teams, but mainly the scholarships they offer are for top players around the world now, not the United States, because it's a gruel to get really good. It's like anything. You're going to have to spend a lot of time with it. and you have to start when you're young and keep working at it. But India, because of Anand, has developed a whole culture of good players, and China, because they're into it. Russia has had good players for years. Europe is into it. And the United States is an intellectual vacuum. It always has been, and it's kind of disdained around the country. Yet we have a couple of the best players in the world with Haruka Nakamura and Fabio Caruana, but they get no following except internationally, so on Twitch. They make their living off Twitch, but it is really tough. But it tells you when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene gets the attention of the world, and she is a complete moron, and Fabio Caruana and Haruka Nakamura don't even get a mention. They're like, forget. That tells you all you want to know about.
We're so deep into social media and streaming that people aren't even having as much sex as they used to. So which, between sex and chess, if sex can't hold up, then chess certainly can't hold up.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's a big problem. Yeah, Sasha.
The benefits of sex will be examined during this trial in New York.
Oh, gosh.
So what is the worst 3 seconds of sex? How much it should be? What are the implications of 3 seconds of sex? And we will find out.
The thing is, I call it the trial of the century only because the century is young on. And the thing is, the fact is, the trial, we're going to be going over that in the media show later on today. I think Que Pasa Mayor just got completed because I was watching it on our network on Roku TV. But the media show is going to go over the trial, what I call the trial of the century, because the other trial last century was probably O.J. Simpson trial. I mean, that thing got a lot of media. But if you think about this one, it should receive a lot of press, and it could determine the outcome of the election. If Trump goes down.
It's already doing that, baby. Trump is already behind Biden 5-6 points.
I know that. But the trial, how the trial goes may how the election goes, Sasha, because if he becomes a quote convicted felon, that's going to turn off the not sure voters, and he could just lose this. So if he wins, it could turn them back on. So this actually becomes a really becomes a really big deal. It really is the trial of the century right now, because there's no other great trial that I know of, unless you guys know one.
So, I mean, and the Trump campaign is cash starved because they spent $100 million since he left office on his lawyers. And, some rich people have given up on him. And the RNC is being run by Laura Trump, who yesterday in a speech to, her supporters said that if Trump is elected again, they're going to go scorched earth, which is not a way to win, undecided voters in the middle.
Yeah. No, I agree. But how this trial is going to go. One commentator said that 80% of the decision making of a juror, according to some studies, is made an opening statement. And if you do think about it, because I did read a lot of studies on jury selection becoming extremely important, almost it's the trial itself is who's impaneled. And I went through the bios, but I couldn't really find the meat of
where the meat. The meat is of the 12 jurors. They asked all of them what their primary news and information sources are.
Right.
And so one of the jurors said that they get all their information from Truth Social, which is
really? Well, that juror probably was dismissed then.
No, they're on the panel. They think so.
Really?
Like the OJ trial, it is the prosecution's trial to lose. There was compelling evidence for and also you had a segment of the population who were ready to acquit OJ even with very damning evidence.
Right. And when I was following the trial, I was going, the mistake that they made in the O.J. Simpson trial is impaneling the jury. What happened is Marcia Clark thought, she has this liberal brain, that everybody's going to treat everything equally in front of the law. She doesn't realize, no, that is not the case. If you get the wrong juror in or panel the way they did it, they're going to lose every time. I'll give you an example. If you impanel Trumpsters into that jury, the case is over before you even get started. It doesn't matter what is said, who done what. The impaneling of the jury is so important that it's not funny. If you got all Trumpsters in that jury, it doesn't matter. He walks. Okay, so Marcia Clark decided to get all these black people there, and they're going to treat everything equally. And she had a horrible jury, and she lost. And she goes, "Oh, I couldn't believe that they would actually take race into account." I'm going like, stupid. Okay, now the juries that
she had a choice of venues. She could have prosecuted it in Santa Monica, which is very, white beach community.
Yeah. Well, she was too closely removed from law school to realize you have to be out for a while. They said you have to be out for at least 10 years to realize that the way the system works isn't the way they taught you in law school. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Okay, so the paneling of jury is extremely important, and I couldn't see really. I was going through as much as I could the bios of the jury, but I couldn't come up with a conclusion who impaneled the right jury. But I don't think the prosecution made that same error. Although they have a lot of men on the jury, and that tends to be
5 women.
Yeah, tend to be more favorable for Trump, by the way. Okay, but there are some men that hate him, so it was kind of hard to figure that out. Then, like they said, opening statement is really important. I don't know how they're going to couch the opening statement, and then that's 80% of your case, and 20% is, people aren't remember half the witnesses that come in and out, and then it's going to be the closing statement. It's going to probably counts for another 10% because they're not going to remember half the stuff that they heard through the trial. But that's the reason today is extremely important. What the opening statement is for the defense. I'm not sure how they plan on defending this case. Okay, that was the reason I wanted to really hear the opening statement. I had no clue. Okay, a lot of money moved. It was like this big mysterious money moved into people's hands, and then they're saying,
I think about the defense, Nick, first of all, it's a prosecutor's case to prove. So defense may just sit still and do very little. I think main defense should be that all those checks from Trump to Michael Cohen, Trump signed them believing that he's reimbursing him for his legal bill, and that's his probably will be viable defense. Whether it will work or not, it's a big question. But I think that's the only defense that he might have. What else?
Right. And then the attorney for the other side has to press the standard. You have to prove beyond any reasonable doubt the intended to commit a crime, and beyond any reasonable doubt means you have no doubt in your mind that he tried to violate the election laws. Again, the attorneys usually weigh another 5% of the case. I don't know how good his lawyers are in terms of being able to persuade juries. Trump tends to hire from the bottom of the deck when it comes to lawyers. In other words, the best and the brightest don't tend to work for him. I know some attorneys who'd be really good, like Roy Black. He's a little too old right now, but he's my criminal law attorney who was on CNN for years. He got off the Kennedys in that scandal in Palm Beach, but he was just a really great criminal defense attorney. If you get some good criminal defense attorney, it can be the difference.
They don't want to be besmirched. It doesn't help their careers to be in court with Donald Trump.
Yeah, and also they like to get paid. See, I can see one defense is Trump goes, well, the reason I sent the money to Michael Cohen is I have to make sure my bills are paid.
The most interesting thing.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. How are you going to defend this guy?
What's interesting thing, and it will be in testimony of witnesses, that Trump, after agreeing paying for this hush money, so-called, then when he became president, and Cohen and somebody else reminded him that we have to start a new company to complete these payments, Trump says, wait a sec, I'm already a president. Why should I care about this Stormy Daniel? Let her do whatever she wants to do. Let's not pay her at all. And then Cohen was furious and saying, come on, you can't screw people just like that. It will become public knowledge one day or another. He says, well, okay, let me sign the checks. We'll see how it develops.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
One argument they have is that they'll argue that he didn't have sex, that he was just being blackmailed because he's a rich, famous man. But two, even if he did, it's not illegal to have sex, and it's not illegal to pay somebody to keep quiet about sex. And they'll hammer the table with that.
What about prostitution? Do they have prostitution?
It's not prostitution. He was holding out that he could get her on The Apprentice. And
Oh, I see. So the payment was really because he see, this is the reason I'm curious what story is going to be made up. You know, we know it's not going to be true. Okay, now what story are we going to tell? So the story is going to be, well, she didn't get on The Apprentice, so I gave her, you know, a loser's fee or something like that.
Because some things, there are a lot of
I
stories
promised her to
about.
be on The Apprentice. I couldn't be on The Apprentice. I felt guilty, so I gave her 130.
Nick, there are a lot of stories about producers' love seat. So this is just one of the versions practiced by Donald Trump. Oh, you want to go on an apprentice? Okay, let me inspect you.
Okay.
Whether you're suitable for
and even
the
Stormy Daniels admits that it was a mentor relationship. He was claiming he could help her with her career outside of The Apprentice because she had moved from being a porn performer to being a porn director and is apparently pretty competent and wanted to start directing mainstream horror movies. And I'm sure he was, you know, saying his BS about how he could, you know, help her right until when he cornered her in his hotel room with like no clothes on. And, you know, I mean, it is her job to have sex. So she's like, all right, this will be, you know, not great, but as she correctly thought, it was over in 3 seconds.
Well, maybe she sent him a bill, like I said, for maybe the bills will come out for professional services rendered, because that's what lawyers send, and it just really upsets the bar, and because they go, you got to say what exactly did you do for the time that you spent, et cetera. You just can't send a bill blanket. But you know, no, Cohen, I didn't see to be a top drawer lawyer anywhere, and so he might have sent a bill to Trump, $130,000 for professional services rendered. Trump writes the check. And then he goes, you know, I just wrote a check to my attorney. What's wrong with that?
I think he wrote a series of checks. I think they broke the repayment to Cohen down into a number of checks for a few $1,000. And
really?
So, you know, if you were writing a steady series of checks to, you know, that's why the 34 charges. It's like one charge for each check.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Something. What I said before about this, Trump suggested to not make any payments to Stormy Daniels because he's already president and he doesn't care anyway. You know, that line of defense is contradicting another line of defense where he was saying, or his lawyer suggesting, that he did that hush money payment not to upset Melania Trump. So he cared so much that he agreed to make all these payments and so on. But then if he wouldn't pay her, and that's what he wanted to do, then of course, sooner or later, Melania would find about it. So on one hand, he cares about what Melania will think about all this. On the other hand, he's ready to screw Stormy Daniels for this hush money, $130,000. And he wouldn't, at that point, he wouldn't care about what Melania would think about it. The two doesn't make into one. It's all complete his bogus lies, and complete disregard for any.
Yeah. Well, I heard today the first witness called to be the head of the National Enquirer, because purportedly he met with the head of National Enquirer and also with Cohen to devise a strategy to keep his name great, make Trump's name great again in the press, and this payment was part of that. Now the question is, what is the person who's head of owns the National Enquirer, who's the director?
David Pecker.
Like what is he actually going to say? I don't know. Now in civil cases, you know what they're going to say because you depose them prior to the trial. I don't do criminal work, so I don't know if they actually have a deposition on him prior to the trial. And then they use that deposition either for or against his statement. To my knowledge, there wasn't any depositions taken, which is weird. So I would think they actually have a deposition on him at this point in time, but I don't really know.
That was a separate $150,000 payment to Karen McDougal for a catch and kill, where they said, we'd like to do this story, and we're going to pay $150,000 for the exclusive rights. And then they never run the story because that was Pecker's, I assume, contribution to Trump's elected.
Campaign. Yeah, right. In other words, he was basically, Pecker was running interference for the Trump campaign. And then they're going to say, well, that's campaign law violations, but would that be Trump's or would that be Pecker's violation? Or will Pecker think that he's in trouble? He'll just take the fifth on the stand. The drama will continue. Pecker goes, I'm going to say Jack.
Pecker has already got immunity from whatever.
He was granted immunity. Okay.
Already granted immunity. Okay. So now he can testify anything what he wants.
Okay. So now he's free if he wants to tell the truth.
He can tell truth and half truth and only lies.
Half truths. I don't remember. I don't recall. Yeah, Rick.
So there's a general principle, and Trump has been accused of sexual assault by a couple dozen women. And when I took women's studies in college decades ago, we were taught that rape isn't a crime of sexual passion. It's a crime of power and domination. And for Trump, that's certainly true. Like in the E. Jean Carroll thing, I'm not sure because she couldn't see because she was smashed face first into the wall. His penis probably had nothing to do with it. It was his fingers. And when you read what he did to various women, it was just harassment and domination and they let you do it because you're a star. He wasn't, having an orgasm from this for the most part. And, in the general principle, so he's kind of this old school, terrible guy who needs to dominate and humiliate women. But, I was clicking around last night and I ran into naked pictures of Karen McDougal. And I didn't have to pay $150,000. So the principle is don't be Trump. Don't go out there and get involved with, outside your marriage. Just wait till everybody goes to sleep. There's a ton of porno on the internet and just take care of it yourself and leave everybody in peace.
Well, it's your next book, Rick, The Sexual Life of Donald Trump. I guarantee you a bestseller on the New York Times.
We already know everything. We already know there are two presidents whose
but people will buy that book.
What they look like.
The Sexual Life of Donald Trump. Well, I mean, it could be just a bunch of empty pages. I don't know.
I think there's indignity about whatever sexual acts with Trump is that if he is puking in a courtroom, then it must be even more painful when he pukes during the sexual affair. And this is now so well documented. They started to interview people who knew Trump back in the 80s and they had dinners together and so on. And he pukes in the open and restaurants. The next tables who were sitting right next to him, they were leaving. They were paying their bills and immediately leaving. Now he pukes in the courtroom. So people don't.
Well, he farts in the courtroom.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard he did, Rick, in the courtroom.
Well, and he does it on purpose. I think you know what he made.
I don't know if he can help himself. The guy's up there in years and he's a little overweight. I mean, he could be letting out rips in the courtroom. I don't know if the judge is going to appreciate this guy. What a person to have in your courtroom.
I don't know. I think they will.
What is the stenographer going to write on there?
I don't know. I don't think they're allowing. They're not allowing cameras in the courtroom, and rightfully so. It's probably an X-rated courtroom. So you can't have cameras in it. That's not suitable for anybody.
Look, I think it will end up that there will be a next gag order against Trump that he's not allowed to puke in a courtroom. But you may say that that's
you mean fart. You mean fart. Puking is when you would barf up food.
Yeah, it's going on the other end, Sasha. That's the problem. That's what I understand. In the courtroom, it's really smelly in the courtroom.
Or you know what?
We don't know. We're not in the courtroom. So give him the benefit of the doubt.
They can put him in a glass cylinder.
That's what they do. That's what they do in what was it in Russia? They put him in a glass room. Yeah. And now I know the reason for the way they do it in Russia. They get people like him. They go, "What else are we going to do with this guy?" But you know what? It's going to dominate the news for the next 8 weeks, and there's absolutely no question about it, Sasha, because the news is slow. and they're not going to report on anything that's decent because that's not what our news does. So they're going to report on this for like it'll dominate the smelly Trump will dominate the news for the next several months, actually. So listen to the circus is in town. The circus is in town, and the guy hasn't even been elected yet. There are, it's just
Nick, there are even videos a lot on internet. There are a lot of videos. I saw quite a few of them, but the one is I remember Dianne Feinstein from Senate. She was discussing something with Donald Trump at one point, and then she goes like, and then she discussed turns away.
Are you serious?
I think it's his habit, and he does it on purpose, I'm pretty sure.
There's another circus going on the other side of the world where there were, with another somewhat criminal leader, there were massive protests across Israel against Netanyahu because he continues to, blow up a ton of Palestinians. There was a story about a family of 9 that was a direct hit from a missile. None of them were Hamas, and a third of them were kids. And his own country is getting sick of him.
Yeah, but to make matters worse, the Congress just voted to give Israel $26 billion. And I'm going like, why are you giving a guy $26 billion who's blowing up kids, women, and children? I just don't get it. First of all, the U.S. is broke, so Jacoby knows I'm cheap. I don't like to give money away, and I don't like to give money to a group that's just going out blowing up women and children. And why the press didn't say anything about this, Rick, I don't know. Don't they correlate, hey, I understand giving money to Ukraine because they're having their butts handed to them by the Russians. Give them $60 billion. But now we're going to give $26 billion to Israel. Israel kicks everybody's butts, people that need it, and frankly, people that don't.
Well, also today, today is Passover. Today is Passover. Columbia University told its Jewish students to maybe go home because of danger from people who are pissed and taking their anger out.
Yeah, and see that's wrong, because the thing is, just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you're backing, just like you do, Rick. You're backing what Israel's doing in this particular case. And there's a lot of people don't back Netanyahu. They have a different stance on how they should be conducting this war over there. But the United States, who's broke, shouldn't be doing that. I mean, giving them 20. And why are we giving $8 billion to Taiwan? I mean, it's all this I'm scared of China stuff that's out there. And remember, I'm cheap. You got to really put a case before you give billions of dollars away to things. Now, Jacoby, he's writing the check. He's like Joe Biden. Send the money out. Send the money out. It's okay. We'll just print more. We'll print more. So, but for me, I am cheap. I do not do that.
I understand the Israel issue because, you have the issue that they started with Iran, which should not have, had the ceasefire happened, the issue with Iran wouldn't have come about, because right now they've opened the door to that. And just as you said, there are a lot of people protesting. So a lot of people want Netanyahu out of there. And I'm glad they stood down in what they did in their response to Iran. So therefore, giving that money to Israel to help with their defense, because because of the onslaught from the other from Iran and its counterparts, is helpful, because as you said again, the protests, there are a lot of people that don't want Netanyahu. The quicker this comes to a close, the quicker Netanyahu can get out of there, because he needs to go. The people, and so rather than having a situation where it's Gaza again, but this time happening in Israel, then that doesn't need to happen. But Netanyahu needs to go. And what's going on in Gaza is just unreal. And so hopefully more money keeps going to flow to Gaza to help the Palestinian people and the people of Gaza, because they're in dire straits. They're pretty much dying. Taiwan is,
but that's not what's happening. The $26 billion is going to Israel. Okay?
Yes, there's 26,
with no strings attached,
going to Israel
from a country that is $34 trillion in the hole. Okay, I mean that we have to be very judicious on where we're spending our money.
You've got
and a country that kicks everybody's butt. I mean, Iran, they sent missiles, they all got shot down. Israel goes into Gaza, they just level people. I mean, so what are we doing here?
That's the thing, is that it has to be a stable area to get Netanyahu out of there. Because Netanyahu right now is utilizing the war to stay in power. He's killing people literally.
Yeah, but what he's going to do is go to his people and say, "Look, I got 26 billion from the United States of America. I'm a hero. Keep me in."
His people don't want him, regardless, getting the extra.
Well, I'm not sure. I think it's kind of mixed. It's split. If they didn't want him in, they would have voted.
I'm just looking at it as a position of, let's try and stabilize the situation, because as soon as it's,
you're like Joe Biden. Let's just spend money, America.
I'm like, hey, get Netanyahu out of there. If we can stabilize the situation to make sure, okay, now we have a position.
It is stabilized. Israel's kicking everybody's butt.
Well, now it is.
I predicted that too. I was going, they're going to kick everybody's butt. They're the beast of the Middle East.
My curiosity is if that 28 billion was tied to, you cannot respond back the way you're talking about. That's my curiosity, because if that happened,
it was not.
I don't know.
It was not, at least by Congress. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is just going ballistic over it.
We don't.
And she's partially right and partially wrong.
No, she's never right. The Jewish space laser lady.
No, she's right in the fact that she needs to deliver a message. The United States is broke with capital B.
So you're saying 26 billion. I'm looking at this article. The Times of Israel says it's 17 billion. So it's only
really?
Hold on. Here it is.
It's
26. It's on the one hand,
how much is it?
17 billion for defense. On the other hand, 9 billion for humanitarian relief. So only 2/3 of the 26 goes to blow up Palestinians. The other third goes to feed them.
So also,
we'll blow them up and feed them.
How much was, because with the Ukraine aid, for example, there's a lot of money that's actually going into the weaponry and so on and so forth, and the majority of that is basically being spent in the U.S. to send that equipment over to Ukraine. Is that the same thing with the Israel aid, where it's spending money here and then sending it there? Because that's also something that, like I said, that's what's done with the Ukraine aid right now.
Yeah,
that's always been the case. That most of the money goes to pay arms manufacturers, goes into our economy.
Yeah.
Historically, war has been, FDR didn't really get us out of the Depression as much as World War II got us out of the Depression.
Yeah, and it was also government spending got us out of the Depression. But see, the problem in the liberal lunatic's mind, well, government spending got us out of the recession. Let's just keep spending money forever and ever and ever. And then without any consequences. Well, that doesn't happen. Actually, and we saw that in the last couple of years with this inflation, and we're pushing toward what will be hyperinflation. They're going to see something that is very unique. Yes,
in money designated for Ukraine, it's not only money that will be rebuilt U.S. arsenal that was spent partially to Ukraine, but even the expenses for logistics and accounting are also taken out of the $61 million. So U.S. is not forgetting itself. It's plenty of money to stay in Washington or Pentagon or both. Okay, so let's not cry so much for this help.
So I mean, truthfully, it's a boon for the economy here, as much as it is supporting Ukraine. It's supporting the defense of Israel against the other entities coming in.
Right.
Also, again, the big thing though, it all goes back to creating stability in the region, enough stability to get Netanyahu out of there. Because the only reason he's there is because only reason he's still in power is because the quote unquote war against Hamas is still there. But he's literally killing people and not even worried about it. Like there was, what was it? Was it yesterday? There was a bombing that killed 12 or 16 kids or something like that. nobody from Hamas was killed. It was just kids and women.
Right. They call that a terrorist organization, otherwise known as Netanyahu, who's his own terrorist organization. And
So
and U.S. media doesn't call them on it, which is just amazing. And they don't call this the money that's going over there, which is absolutely
the reason
amazing. They should at least bring it into question. What are we doing funding killing women and children?
reason
Eventually the other side will get a hold of it and they're going to say something.
the reason
The
reason it doesn't get called out as much is because we haven't figured out the balance between what is anti-Semitism and what is honest criticism of a situation that is bad. Because everything goes into right now, everything, when you try and say anything about what's going on in Israel, a lot of people jump down your throat and say, hey, you're anti-Semitic. But you've got to realize that it's not being anti-Semitic when you're talking about a legitimate situation that needs to change. Like, for example, Netanyahu. When we talk about Netanyahu, people have to understand that it's a true criticism. What he's doing is wrong. It's not about defense for him anymore. It's about defending his own political power. That's all he's caring about. So he's utilizing the war to stay in power, and it's an obvious thing. For example, we haven't even talked about what happened at USC. USC removed all the speakers. Why? Because the valedictorian who was supposed to speak had a website link on her page. She wasn't promoting anything anti-Semitic. She wasn't championing anything anti-Semitic in anything that she said. But because she had a link, and on that link, it was more pro-Palestinian, and then people got upset at the pro-Palestinian piece, they removed her from speakership. That means that also then to help cover their tracks, they also removed the other speakers like Billie Jean King and so on and so forth. So the media really isn't covering that the way it was covering what happened with, okay, now how do we protect people from anti-Semitism? Because there's so much rampant anti-Semitism. The young lady was Muslim.
2 days ago was Hitler's birthday, and people were just celebrating the crap out of it on Twitter. So, I mean, yeah, anti-Semitism, overt, just people being out there with it has like tripled according to the FBI, these incidents. Yeah, so the situation in Israel provides cover for people who think it's fun to attack Jews.
Well, it's not only that; it's providing cover for what you've just said, but it's also providing cover for anti-Muslim hate, because it's easy to say right now it's easy to just blanket everything. Again, there's a difference between anti-Semitism and being critical of a situation. But when you're critical of a situation, then you could throw in, hey, well, those Muslims are doing this, or let's hate the people of Palestine, or you're just, it's the same thing with using the Bible to hate on people that.
Yeah, but all defense to USC, Jacoby, they may just not want the drama. They want a speech, but they don't want the drama. And so the minute she did the link to the Palestinian thing or whatever she's doing, she's basically saying, I have no problem engaging in political speech. You're not going to affect my speech. And they're right. They can't affect her speech. But she also doesn't have a right to speak at the.
But again,
it
being a Jewish.
So if I was USC, I would have no problem getting rid of her.
But again, had it been a Jewish individual at this time,
yeah,
would that have been covered? Yes,
maybe. We don't
know.
There's
no maybe. There is no maybe. It would have been an outrage had they removed that. Been a Jewish.
I'm sure there's going to be an outrage from the small Palestinian community. Right now. All these communities have an outrage because they love being outraged. I mean, so what? It doesn't mean if you're defending the institution like USC, they don't have to bring the circus to town. If they don't want the circus can go to their own town. If she wants to speak, she has the right to speak. She can go to the sidewalks of California and say whatever the F she wants. Who cares?
You're missing my point.
But she doesn't have the right to speak at the commencement.
You're missing my point, though. My point is the fact that there would have been media outrage had this been a Jewish individual told that they can't speak because they had something talking about Netanyahu on their page?
Netanyahu positive or Netanyahu negative?
Anything about Netanyahu, supporting Netanyahu, supportive Israel, supportive what's going on, blah, 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 blah.
Well,
There would be
we don't know that,
outrage.
counselor. That calls for a hypothetical, counselor.
You
know,
look
that's
in
a
our
hypothetical.
past. It's
I
just
can't-
recently
I
happened.
cannot address your hypothetical. You know, and that's the problem with you liberals. Everything's hypothetical, and hence it's just like climate change. Oh, China's going to attack us. We got to give a lot of money to Taiwan. Oh, we got to give a lot of money to internet. We need to
Just remember.
give all these little chips away. You know,
So I just looked up tuition at USC. USC is a private university, and their estimate of what it costs per year now, including room and board, is $95,000.
I know my wife went to USC, which is the most expensive school in California. I went to the University of Miami, the most expensive school in Florida. Okay, so we're used to going to expensive schools, but the reason you go to expensive schools is you get away from all the yahoos that exist in state schools, and that's the reason you go. Is you don't want to hang out with the yahoos.
Yeah, but
of course,
so
now you
if
hang
they
out with
see,
rich low lives, but that's another story.
if they
you know.
see if they have this graduation and it's chaos, and a family's deciding whether to spend $95K a year,
Yeah, right. They don't want it.
or go to
They don't want the
UCLA
service.
if you're lucky enough to get in and spend $60 a year. You
go to UCLA. You know, but you're right. See, Rick, what they don't want the circus. Private schools aren't interested in the circus. They don't need the circus. They don't want the circus. This lady has mentioned, hey, I'm the circus. Well, the circus didn't come to our town.
Oh, by the way, if you see
Now,
the
she did.
lady, if you see the lady,
You know, if
interview,
you want to,
She
if
did
you
not
want-
mention it.
no,
yes,
she stuck it
it
on
was
her
a
bloody
Jewish
website
group.
and blasted it all over
It was
the world.
no.
Come on,
It was a
Toby.
Jewish group that went after her.
Yeah, because she smacked it on her website and
but
attached it.
if you see her
You know,
interviewed, she's
Posted
the
on
most
anything, but it
like
was
mild-mannered, least
what?
rabble-rousing, most like upstanding-looking lady you can possibly imagine.
So what? That's too bad. That's not what USC wants. USC wants people that don't make waves. It's not it's the University of Spoiled Children. Remember that, okay? And not the university where people are going to make waves. You want to make waves? Go to UCLA. Go to some school. Go to Trump University for, if you want to make waves. But don't go to USC. USC is a fine private school. They don't need all the drama queens or kings. So the minute she said, secretly I'm a drama queen. Goodbye. You're out. It's real simple.
She didn't say anything. There was nothing.
She didn't have to say anything. She blasted her
No, she
political
didn't.
position all over the world
she didn't.
by
It was
attaching a link
Jewish group that
on
went
her
after her.
Facebook page.
No,
So
it was a
goodbye.
Jewish group that went after her, that pulled her, that went after her and attacked her and told USC that she shouldn't speak. And so USC told her
Toby, you cannot defend the defenseless.
Meanwhile, Jewish kids at Columbia University are being told, maybe don't come to school. The Passover starts today.
Maybe not. You never know. I mean, it's up to them. It looks like Mark is trying to beam in. I heard he's doing a speech somewhere. So now he's turning into a little circle. Oh, there he is.
For a second.
Mark,
Mark, are you taking over?
Thanks. Yeah.
Dog out.
Mark
Oh, yeah. Well, ladies,
We're going on a tour.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Tara, it's one, right? One back to the lobby.
Oh, here's the thing that I'm just checking the news while we're waiting.
You're good.
Are we on the ground floor?
Yes, this is
Okay, we gotta
good.
go up.
Gotta go to one.
I mean, we could all fit.
I think-
Please.
Put himself on mute.
We just wanted to do something this room.
One.
They were coming. Sorry, that was my team.
Your teacher voice? Did you get a teacher voice? Come from a family of teachers, so I know that teacher voice.
What were you gonna say, Rick?
I was just going to say, I was looking for stories to bring up in the last 10 minutes while we're waiting on Mark. And one thing is voter apathy.
Head back
You
down.
know, I don't trust polls, but here's another poll that's in the news that says that interest in the presidential election is at a 20-year low because you've got two candidates that, that have high negatives.
Yep. Yep. I mean, the tough thing is, we are definitely at a position where neither candidate is wanted by either party. However, we're at also a point where people are voting against the other candidate more so than ever, it sounds like.
And that was huge.
But these are the insurance buildings that they were talking about and everything. So this was all part of the rich tobacco histories that existed. And like I said, that's now being converted.
I don't know if we talked. Rick, here's another one that I thought was funny. I don't know if we got to talk about it last week. I posted it.
This is a repurposed bus station. The original bus station, one of the original bus stations. There's one way downtown, and then there's the one that was over here that's now a Durham History Museum. And it's across the street from our campus. We'll actually walk by and I'll point it to you, but it's a history museum now.
Yeah, Jacoby just mentioned Trump acting like a mafia don who wants to wet his beak. That if you're a Republican candidate and you use a Trump endorsement or a picture of Trump in your campaign ads, Trump wants 5% of any money you raise.
And I don't understand how. The craziest part about that is that he's supposed to be shifting money to the down ballot candidates, not taking money from the.
No, he's not. They spent $100 million in campaign contributions on his lawyers since he left office.
It's just wild.
Yeah, he's not interested in helping other candidates.
No, not at all. Steve, how's it going?
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I've been kind of crazy busy the last couple of months. I've been traveling a lot. I'm going to be gone for a few weeks, but I just wanted to wish everyone a really good spring. I'll be on a couple times a week moving forward, probably once a week, and I'll be gone pretty much through most of the spring and back sometime in the fall. But I'm traveling I'm moving to Washington. I'm going to be there almost 5 days a week. But I just wanted to tell you that I think the main thing going on in the world right now is Israel just not budging. We want to wish all the Jewish folks out there a happy Passover. It is Earth Day. I'm going to try to open up on that at the end of the week. I did have a meeting with the Secretary of Energy, interviewed her on WPTF, and spent about 30 minutes with Jennifer Granholm, former governor of Michigan. Really exciting, the kind of job growth going on in the United States of America, about 486,000 jobs, unemployment under 3.5%. But the biggest challenge is inflation isn't coming down. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the week. I'll be at PBS Carolinas on Black Issues Forum and State Lines, both shows. And we'll be talking about the economy because inflation isn't coming down because of tariffs. That's something we don't talk a lot about. So even though we're creating all these jobs, we often don't think about the fact that it's not translating to lower prices for consumers. So at the end of the day, that's the juggernaut of this race. The economy is not doing as great as it could be, but would it do any better under Trump? And I think that's kind of the my crystal ball is I think Biden wins this election. I think it'll be a relatively close election, but I think you've had to do a really bad job to be ousted from the presidency. And I don't think he's done a very, very bad job. But that's just my take. And Joe Toby, I wish I could be at the Canes game today. I'm wearing my Carolina Hurricanes game. I'll be on a city council meeting. But anyway, that's all. That's my take for today. I don't know if I missed any other major news. The Trump trial begins today. Opening statements. And sorry I was late today. I was just getting a late start. But go ahead, Rick.
So I was just looking. There's a thing called Predict It where you can – it's basically betting via like a little stock market. And it today predicted has stock in Joe Biden getting reelected at 55 cents versus Trump at 45 cents. So Biden has pulled ahead. People are starting to get the idea that Trump can't get it together to get reelected.
Well, also, I think the trial, as we close out the show, I think the trial the convictions, the charges certainly doesn't help. I think if people vote their pocketbooks, it could be a different story. But I think that's kind of where we are. Give me 1 second, guys.
Yeah. Well, I think he's right about the trial. That's the reason it's the trial of the century, at least. That's what I put up because.
But it's also another failure of the media to fail to call out what is half of the source of inflation, which is corporations increasing their profit margins. And
what's wrong with that? You guys have a problem with that?
So there's nothing like. So I think it's crap when the oil companies do it because they're already fat cats. When supermarket chains want to bump up their profit margin from 2% to 3%, I think that's more justifiable. But but none of that has anything to do with Biden, and you can at least call it out. You may not change corporate behavior, but you can. Like debunk.
Wait. Last I heard that the media is corporations. Isn't that true, Rick?
Yeah, which is also part of the problem.
Why are you going to call out your clients? I mean, come on, man. Last I saw that Procter and Gamble and all these people they pay for advertising space. Is that correct, Rick? And you want to call them people out? You want to call out McDonald's? McDonald's puts on ads all the time on media. You're going to call them out, Rick? No, they're their clients.
The for-profit news model leads to all sorts of terrible coverage.
Of course, because the media in the United States is owned by the advertisers. Okay, it's implied that you're not going to criticize McDonald's, and then next 2 minutes, here comes the McDonald's or Burger King commercial. Forget it.
You have a point, Nick, and that is true. I mean, that happens. I mean, there was a.
I mean, it happens. It happens every day, Jatovi.
Yeah, I was trying to think. There was one story. There was one town that it just really happened really bad at, and they just basically walked over the whole story. I'll see if I can find that article.
Okay. Well, what you're saying, find that we're going to have to close out early because we got a big group.
Because I wanted to touch.
Yeah. I'll be joining at 11:30. I'll be up joining at 11:30 on that call, Nick. I want to thank you all.
And
we're going to close out early today. My closing message is
2 minutes. We're going to have to get going because we got a big group showing up on the Ukraine bill, the bill that just got passed by the Senate. Yeah. I got to get out of here.
All right. Well,
I got to switch shows.
To close out the show, folks, it's a turbulent week. We're going to talk about the Ukraine deal, Trump, Biden. This is going to be a significant race. The economy, lots of jobs being created, but at the same time, prices are coming down. And while all of this is going on, war in the Middle East, Iran, Israel, Ukraine, the Gaza, it's just all coming to roost, folks. We'll be back. I'll be back later in the week to talk about this. Join us now on Roku, Pod TV's Economics Monday as we talk about the Ukraine deal. Thank you.